In stop motion animation, sometimes the final look of a particular story moment can only be created by collaging several different elements together in a process called compositing. Today, I'm going to show the steps that I took to create one scene from the short film Invisible Objects. I'm working in After Effects on this project, so the first thing you have to do is import your footage and label it. And while I do that, I'll explain more about the animation shoot and some of the footage that I'm using today. So here are some images from our days on set. You can see the astronaut characters are being held up by rigs, and these rigs allow the characters to move up and down and back and forth in space. Next, we're adjusting the sun for the block shot, and the sun is on motion control, so we're controlling its timing and its intensity. And so these are some of the tests that we do. And once we've done the tests and we're happy with them, we move on to animation. And the next major thing to look at when you're doing the scene is, what shot preceded it. We were doing a punch-in on a walking shot that you see here. We're going to be punching in closer on this. So here we are closer in, and I just wanted to get the speed of the puppets correct. And then the next thing was like, okay, we got to match the walking. And you can also notice that the legs aren't moving. We didn't need to animate them because they're going to be cropped out. We animated the two characters under two different lighting exposures, one with the sun on and one with the sun off. The sun off one allows us to cut the characters out from the background. So the other thing that happens in the shot is the objects that they're pushing appear in the sunlight. We took 3 different exposures of these clear acrylic blocks that we had attached to rigs. These were all shot at the same time. A glint pass, which is what you're looking at right now. It's just the sun reflecting off the top. And then the next one is a more intense sort of highlight pass. And then finally, a polarizing pass, which was shot with polarizing filters. And this gives us a really great look. I've been interested in the effect that polarizers have on showing the stresses in cast plastic. And it produces really neat rainbow type effects, and it was that rainbow that I kind of wanted to show at the end. So now that we have these elements imported, I'll show you how they fit together into the final shot. First, I mask out the characters and separate them from the background. Masking is basically isolating an object in the footage. You can keep the things inside of the mask, or you can get rid of the things inside of the mask and sort of keep the background. Sometimes you move a mask by hand. Most of the time you move a mask by hand, frame by frame. And sometimes you can use the tracking software to track the mask. Now I can add the characters on top or behind the blocks. I want the blocks to act like a prism, distorting anything that moves behind them. I want to create this distortion from the information stored within the colorful block pass, the polarizing pass that we took. I will also add one of my favorite effects called Colorama. The reason I like it is because right out of the package, without doing anything, it has really crazy colors. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to add is an effect called displacement. This effect basically assigns a number to the red, the green, and blue color pixels in the blocks. It will then push any pixels appearing behind the effect up, down, left, or right by that number and create a very naturalistic distortion. The colors of the block kind of function as a topographical map over any footage that plays behind it. And now that I have all these elements separated out, I can start to lay them together and see how the final composition will look. So one of the things that happened in the shoot that was kind of unexpected was how much the sunlight lit the surface scratches of the blocks. And I figured I could maybe come up with a way of making them less prominent. So right now I'm just trying out a levels effect to kind of get rid of the scratches on the side of the block, because I'm only really interested in the glint that's appearing on the top. But eventually I decide that that doesn't work. So I end up using some of the masks that I've drawn before, and I just subtract the scratches from the side of the block and also on the front of the block. So now I'm back putting all the elements together. And as I'm sliding things around and adjusting, the layer with the distortion pass has been left on. And I'm noticing that the distortion really works. It defines the shape really clearly, and it's very clean, and it doesn't have any of those annoying scratches. This is where I decide that I need to mask the distortion layer for the rest of this shot. Originally, I'd only done it for the last third, but now I'm going to go back, remask it for the first 2/3 of the shot. And another thing I'm noticing is that the sun's not working for the composition that I want. So because everything's been shot separately, I can move the sun around, change its timing, and have it hit the blocks at exactly the right time. So now I'm just adjusting the timing back and forth. This scene that I want to create is basically a moment when the sun hits the top of the invisible objects that the astronauts are pushing. It's going to be a naturalistic effect, kind of like when light goes through moisture in the air and produces a rainbow just for a flash. And I'm running it back and forth to keep it in time with the music so that the crescendo happens and the flash happens at exactly the same time. So I'm going to render this out, and I'm going to show you the final edit. This project is still in development, and you can follow along on Pony Productions' Instagram page for updates. Thanks for watching.